Alrighty, we're back. Episode 2, The Collective, running this back here. Let's get into it. Alrighty, what do we got on the docket here today? I feel like we got a jam-packed agenda. I think
Yeah.
we could start off up top here with some zero-click ad stuff on LinkedIn. I saw a really neat example in the wild that I think kind of underscores a lot of what we spoke about in the first episode in terms of like how brands and businesses and services can generate content that's kind of optimized for zero click in feed consumption that I thought was really cool. And then we can get into like some other LinkedIn stuff along the way there. Um,
Yeah.
right before we got into this, Steve, I shared this post, and I think this is a good kind of starter section here for an example that I saw in the wild of how to really create content for zero click consumption. I
Yeah,
just showed
I just thought it was an SEO post that you're going to share with me. I was like, oh, cool, how to get more traffic, which is a cool tactic, but you know, getting to the point of like, oh, it's more than just how to get traffic to your website. This is a promotional piece. Uh, Very cleverly done.
absolutely cleverly done here because I was just scrolling my feed the other day and Jake Ward, shout out to Jake Ward of Byword. I don't know how I came across this piece of content. I think this was just me kind of scrolling along here. I don't really remember seeing his content before, but you could see like huge headline here: SEO heist that stole 2.3 million in traffic. Like this just seems interesting and just like attention grabbing, and also kind of like something along the lines that I would want to learn about is SEO. So it's a little carousel post, very nice branded here, great copy throughout, and then you're kind of clicking through of essentially how they were able to kind of like replicate a competitor's content on their site to then generate a ton of traffic using AI. So I'm clicking through, I'm like, okay, this is like really interesting, some of these steps on how to do this. And then you get to a point in this file here where you get to, I think it's step 4, generate ideas from these URLs. So essentially, he's taking you step by step of how to do this whole process here. And then a huge portion of how to execute this is using this tool Byword. And I'm reading through this and I'm like, yeah, I didn't really notice. I haven't heard of Byword before or anything like that. And then you get to the end and I'm like, okay, this is awesome and really interesting. I bet this guy is associated with Byword. He has to be. And then you could obviously see here, founder at Contact Growth, co-founder at Byword. So this is his company. This is his brand. And he essentially just put out a whole little case study on like how you could significantly improve your website's visits and overall performance by doing these tactics, and just subtly slots in his service on how to actually execute this. This was like one of the best examples I think I've come across in this like zero click in feed consumption type content posting.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the post itself, the title or the description, it doesn't mention anything about their company. It actually leads directly into the actual slides, which we can talk about later being an awesome way to get, it seems like slides or PDFs that you upload that look like that turn into slides seem to perform really well. But he doesn't mention his company name in his byline, which is interesting. So it doesn't look promotion there. And even in the first slide of it, they don't mention anything. It's only what, like 4 or 5 pieces in when you're like committed into, you know, the process of reviewing the content. And you're like, oh, okay. So if I'm going to pull this off, I'm going to have to use this software. Sure, there's other softwares out there that can do the same thing, but yeah, that's smart. And what was the reach on this thing? It got a ridiculous amount of reposts and comments on there.
110 reposts.
Yeah. So going back to the zero click, how in the hell are they going to track the signups for byword.ai? There's not a direct attribution. There's not a link out, right? So direct traffic coming in for signups, etc. It's a perfect example because, yeah, it got traction on LinkedIn, so it must have gotten some more people to sign up for it, but you just can't attribute to it directly. So very slick.
I guarantee this got them a ton of demos or bookings or whatever. And to your point there, where you would never see that, like, hey, LinkedIn organic post drove this amount of business. You just like wouldn't see that in your CRM or in analytics there. Um, obviously after chatting with some of these initial customers and sales teams have conversations, it would be great to get their feedback, but like you're not going to see a direct one-to-one attribution between this post and sales, but I guarantee this thing got them crazy amount of interest and hits to their site and demos booked there.
Yeah, and it's tough too because like, would you even call this like you're trying to do this for your client, right? It's not necessarily like social media management. It's not paid. It's not. Yeah, I guess maybe it's content marketing in a way, for it all. But it's like it's a very unique kind of service set or tactic to go through. And I don't know anybody like offering a service like this for clients. And every client would be different. I'm just trying to think like how would we bring this to the real world for a client of ours? When they're going through this. It's like just creating something kind of masterful. Kind of reminds me of like the infographic days. You're creating something that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But anyways, great example of the zero click. SEO wise, is it valid that you could use AI content and do this? In theory, yeah. I mean, they show it with some of the stats. I have seen AI content rank. Sure, you want to make sure you edit it down with some human touch to it. So, it's unique to you, but AI content does rank. We've seen it until Google runs an algorithm out, then we'll see. But great example, man. I think it's a great way to kick this off.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking too, like, if you're like a business or a brand out there or a service, I think this was a good framework to use where you could think about how can you, like, what does your service solve? Like, what kind of pain point are you solving for a customer? And how can you highlight in your content that solution and weaving in your service or your product that's not a hey, book now to learn more, or hey, purchase this right now, but demonstrating this is how your problem would be solved, so that person can consume that piece of content and be like, you know what, I deal with that shit all the time, I would love to have that service or that solution. Or hey, I would really love to have my website rank a little bit more, let me test out Byword because I know this tool could really help me do that. I think that's a good framework for businesses and brands to kind of think through us how to subtly weave their solution into that piece of content that would then lead users to do direct outreach or go to their site later on to get some additional information.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're mostly talking about on LinkedIn on these zero clicks. I mean, do you think this would be applicable for other, social media channels like Facebook or Twitter?
Same,
Or even,
100%. Videos on all of those platforms. I mean, carousels are obviously great for LinkedIn right now, but like you could do carousels on Facebook, as well as Instagram. I mean, even other platforms, like even other types of like little communities and stuff. I've heard of stories about certain brands and businesses launching a Discord channel or a Slack channel and having some type of like community where it's not necessarily, hey, we're going for a direct sale, but more so, I don't know, training on how to do certain things or providing value that's going to lead those people down the path to using your service moving forward, because that's the main thing that they're solving for.
yeah, interesting. Okay. Now, I'm just thinking, is this kind of zero click, topic that we've been on for the last two episodes, do we think it's mostly B2B? A lot of the examples I can easily pull, it's B2B or like a software, someone selling. Um, would it be applicable to B2C as well?
I think so. I think so because I'm thinking of like TikTok content. I'm not a big TikToker. Do you use TikTok?
Nah.
Yeah.
Might be
Yeah.
an age thing, and a privacy thing, but my kids for sure, they want to try, but they're too young. So we'll see. But I know it's
I have
there.
a
I know it's popular.
oh, totally. I have a bunch of friends who use it, and my girlfriend loves to use it. And there's a ton of content on that platform that individuals are creating. I'm trying to think of like a good example, but I don't know, maybe like a cleaning solution or something like that, where you're not necessarily highlighting, hey, I'm selling this organic spray or whatever that might be, but I'm creating a piece of content that's showing me doing cleaning activities and using this organic spray and kind of like weaving that in to their piece of content.
Mm.
So I'm thinking of any type of like actual physical product where maybe you can create like a little tutorial, or you using that video or using that product itself, and just like it's intertwined within the video, where you're never saying, hey, go purchase this product. You're just really showing them the benefits of it. And then hopefully that would lead to people be like, oh shit, that's a really cool thing that's highlighted in that video. Let me go and purchase that product. So I think you could easily intertwine this B2B or B2C.
Are they pushing it from the brand, or are they pushing it through like an influencer for that type of content?
The influencers are huge for that piece there. Yeah.
So it's like if you're going to run a campaign for like this maybe zero click, it's got to be done through influencers. Like I don't know what it comes to my mind. I think maybe an example that is like I saw maybe it was an ad for like it was a dryer or a laundry detergent sheet, like eco-friendly or something like that, and it's a sheet that you throw in instead of having to waste thousands of dollars on gallon jugs of plastic, and it's not environmentally friendly. I saw that, and it's kind of like that because it was part of a series of how to be more eco-friendly, and it was just one part of it, but it was definitely
That's
from an
neat.
influencer, not from the brand itself. um yeah, maybe that's where it's at more on the influencer marketing stuff. I've just never have had a lot of experience in influencer marketing on the B2C side to know if it truly does work, but I guess most of it would be zero click, right? There's not going to be
Really?
direct attribution to that. Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's tough to say, like, influence or not, but I do think just like that concept of trying to intertwine the product or service into the video in a way that's not just straight up saying, hey, buy this product because it's great or something like that, but demonstrating why this product or service would be useful or solve a pain point for somebody. Because at that point, if you demonstrate that, that consumer is going to know, hey, I'm going to want to purchase this or not. Like you saying, hey, just buy this straight up. I don't know if that gets the job done, but if you can have like a savvy way of intertwining that in your content there, you're just showing people like, hey, this would be what it would look like in your day-to-day life. And if you want to purchase it, great. If not, that's great too.
Yeah, I don't know if that, yeah, like to your point, if on TikTok, the demographic that's there skewing obviously super young, or younger, yeah, the direct ask, I don't think works well there. Um, but also I've heard too that on TikTok, a lot of what generation are we talking about that use TikTok all the time? Is it
Gen Z.
Gen Z?
Yeah.
Um, they use it as like a search function of finding things instead of Google. So I've started to hear these kind of murmurs of like, oh, we need to do SEO for social media, which on TikTok and all these platforms, I think they're going to be unique in each way. But it'd be curious, like, how much people are actually searching for, an eco-friendly laundry detergent on TikTok, and they come across this um, as a solution. I think getting more information on that would be interesting, but how would you optimize storage? Some of the articles I was reading, this is a couple weeks ago, but it was all, basically like doing your best practices of filling out um, all the content you can, adding captions to it, having a good
Yep.
description, hashtags, not being lazy about the post, I guess, and you're being somewhat targeted should rise it up. And then obviously engagement. You can't, I guess you could buy engagement, but just making sure that the more engaged content should rise up. Um, so that's interesting. And talking about kind of SEO on social media platforms, we had an example this morning you shared with me. I think is relevant to get into. Um, so what happened this morning?
Yeah, that's a good segue here into kind of like SEO for social profiles. So I had a business development call this morning here for just lead generation services, um, B2B company looking for some type of paid services here, and just standard search campaigns, paid social campaigns type deal. And I was talking with the gentleman on the call of like, I'm just always curious when these calls come through, like how'd you find me? How'd you hear about me? And he said he just searched lead generation services on LinkedIn, and I was the top profile up there. And that was really interesting to hear that. That one in particular hasn't happened before. I've had plenty of people have like messaged me on there just from like my content, my posts and stuff. But the actual lead generation services. So on LinkedIn, there's a piece in your profile that we were talking about earlier where you could just edit it and just list the services that you provide, and they give you the opportunity to add in like a couple pieces of content on your services page, which is pretty neat. I think I could improve mine for sure, but you could add like case studies, previous work to it, and link to some of that work on there and have like a little description. So that is like a little kind of like personal services page that you're trying to rank for on LinkedIn, if you will, like a little like LinkedIn SEO
Yeah.
there. So I
I
would highly recommend just updating, like just adding your services there and building that out a little bit and seeing if you can rank for some of that.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. I'm pretty sure your profile has to be in creator mode, which I think is like a toggle button, and then it opens up a couple different things. And I believe this is one of those items. And so I did that this morning, and I threw a couple things in just to see if that would happen as well. But yeah, you're totally right. It's like a little micro website service page that you can add into. So I need to add some things in there. Maybe it'll help out. But I guess to be determined if you can drive business that way as well. But if
It,
you're a company out there and you provide certain services or an individual, I mean, might as well. It's not going to hurt. I mean, it's a case example, someone actually using LinkedIn to find someone for lead generation services that drove to an actual business development call that, I'm not sure how qualified, but either way, um, you didn't do anything. Like it's like,
exactly.
that's great. I mean, well,
Exactly.
you made it the settings profile, but it's, I guess, yeah, just filling it out, seeing where it goes. So I guess to be determined where that goes.
I'm really interested to see that. And I think like on this whole like topic here of just like creating content specifically on LinkedIn there. I put together I did a little research here for this episode in terms of like what goes into the LinkedIn organic algorithm and how your posts get reach. I was just curious just to do a little information because I know we spoke about it pretty extensively last episode, and how to optimize your content to get reach on the platform. I put together a little post, and Steve, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts here. I don't think like anything really stuck out to me. So the editor in chief and product manager of LinkedIn, they did this interview with Entrepreneur Magazine in June. I'll just read off a couple things that I found here, that was somewhat interesting, that I think can maybe help or provide some like I don't know tidbits of inspiration for other people's content. So
Fire away.
a couple things that a couple things that popped out here would be the type of content that you engage with on LinkedIn is the type of content that they're going to start showing your on your feed there. They do not prioritize like viral content. Like if you think about, I don't use TikTok, nor do you, or like maybe YouTube Shorts or like Instagram Reels or Twitter, something like that. A lot of times, like viral posts for people that you don't follow is going to be shown to you because those platforms are going to be like, hey, this is going viral. It's a lot of people are engaging with it. You might there as well. LinkedIn doesn't do that at all. It's more
Hmm.
curated and based off of your interests. And on the converse side of that, the content that you create with consistency, they're going to start pairing your ideal audience to that content. So if you're creating a lot of marketing content, they're going to show that to a lot of different marketers or people who engage with that types of content. So when you're looking to create content, I would say don't necessarily think about something that's going to go viral. Think about something that's going to provide value to your given niche if you have one in
Hmm.
mind, and kind of curating your content for that audience and not trying to go viral because you probably can like I don't know if it would like hurt your profile, but you probably wouldn't get a whole lot of reach because LinkedIn might say, "Hey, this one isn't this type of post that you're creating here is different than the other pieces of content that you've been creating in the past. It's a little bit outside that niche, or it's not as valuable as your other ones." So that's just something to keep in mind. There is like not trying to optimize for a piece of viral content, but more trying to optimize towards what's the end user that I'm trying to reach on the platform.
That's really interesting that viral content doesn't actually just pop its way in. Okay, make it for what you need, like as far as your audience. Okay, that makes sense. Sounds
Exactly.
intuitive, but you you would assume that the viral content would just automatically come in, but it's not the case. So I like that. I'm okay with that. Makes sense.
Yeah. They also stated that kind of different than other platforms here as well is people who follow you and you guys are connected to, they're going to see your content first there. So one thing that I've been trying to focus on these past couple of weeks here, and I want to do this more consistent, is spending some time on LinkedIn and just putting in like I don't know, some job titles of who would you want to be connected with. So who do you think would benefit from your content? So maybe just like other marketing job titles, but also who would you want to reach out to you? Like who would you want to get in front of? And great example for us being, agency owners, like you'd probably want to get in front of some decision makers. So, like some director of marketing people or team leads or vice presidents, like those types of people who ultimately are going to make the decision to bring on an agency vendor. It can kind of be like a little ABM play, if you will. Like you're getting in front of all of those decision makers with your content. So when they're tired of their agency or they're at the point where they want to reach out to another vendor, you've been top of mind. Like you've been on their feed producing all of this marketing content. That could be like a little ABM play in itself there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've run some LinkedIn ads for an agency, and we had that list of the decision makers. Like we went through a process of like, hey, who's our best clients? And you nailed it as far as directors of marketings, not the CEOs, not the super small businesses, depending on the accounts that you want to bring in. But for that agency, it was more in that kind of, they're not the ones making the ultimate decision, but they have a play in it. But there are stakeholders above them. And so we did that, and we did some ads within LinkedIn that was more of a lead gen, and we did get leads coming in, but no responses. So I kind of want to try that inversely, where it's like, hey, let's add these people naturally, and then provide them content that's useful and organic to see if we get a better response. Okay, that makes sense to go out there and start adding people that not necessarily just your same job profile, but people that you'd want to eventually reach out to you. That's easy enough to do.
That's such, and you spend 10, 15 minutes a day, just put in a job title, go down the page and just connect, or follow whatever. Um, also, that also
I wish
sparks,
they had a filter you could see of like how active these individuals are,
I know, I
because
know.
sometimes you just don't know. I mean, I guess you'd have to go in each profile and see. Maybe there's scraping tools that do these things. You put a job title in, and you can see how many posts or activities that they have, and then you know that they're actually on the platform. But
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be nice there. One thing else that would be like a little bit more time consuming to do is like engaging with those individuals on LinkedIn, like putting some meaningful, thoughtful comments to their posts and just engaging in other, individuals' posts there. That's, I'm sure you would reap the benefits of that, but that is a very time consuming activity, is like engaging with other people and like trying to put some thoughtful comments out there. But I think that would help your overall visibility on the platform. All right, last couple things on this topic here. They really encourage rich content, so essentially just content that's going to be, valuable to their audience. They specifically called out video and carousel content. So to the initial opening point about the byword example there, if you can create content that is engaging, that is going to generate people commenting, that is really, really going to be helpful for LinkedIn to then promote that post a bit further and get that post to have some more reach. Essentially, that's a good filter for LinkedIn. If people are commenting and engaging on your posts, they're gonna be like, okay, this is probably providing value, or this is providing some type of engagement for the community. Let me share this to other places. So, I don't know if that means you creating carousels or videos, but trying to have like a take in that post, if you will. That way, individuals might want to like defend that and comment on your post, or maybe like reinforce that. Just something to think about when you're creating content is like maybe having like some type of opinion in the post there that's going to encourage people to engage, and engage and maybe comment within that post itself there.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that they call out specifically video and carousels. Video makes sense, right? But carousels, when I first got into it, I'm like, how do you create a carousel on LinkedIn? I honestly didn't know. I'm like, is there a feature that I can like have a little slide editor and I make this, or I got to upload multiple images? It's as simple as creating a PowerPoint deck, a Google slide deck, or whatever tool you want to use, and then just downloading it as a PDF and uploading it. That's what I've been doing. I don't know if there's any other best way of doing it, but then it comes into that nice little clickable carousel out there. Is there any other way to do it, or am I doing it right or wrong here?
I use Canva. Uh,
Okay.
I have a free version of Canva, and I've I've used Canva for any type of social post there, and they have the little search bar function out. I literally typed in there like LinkedIn carousel post templates, and then there's a ton of templates that just pop up for you, and you could duplicate them. They already have like a nice background and like nice little design and fonts and everything ready to go. You just update the content. So Canva
And
free
you
version
download it
gets the
as a,
job done.
when you download it, is it a PDF?
Download as PDF. Yep.
Okay, so it's a PDF that they're consuming, and then they're breaking it up into their own slides. Um,
Yep.
yeah. Okay. So PDF those slides out, and you'll have your carousel, and they perform the best for me. And I think another thing that we've talked about too, and I'm sure it's part of this post too, is tagging people in the content. Like that seems to make it spread even farther. If you're talking about a software or a company or a post that you're reviewing, like doing the at symbol and the company name or the individual, that always seems to drive bigger reach, even if they don't consume it or interact with it. I mean, obviously, you don't want to spam people's names in the post if it's not relevant, but just trying to include other LinkedIn profiles, because there's alerts that happen. And I know you've had this happen too, but someone sees a post, they have a seed alert like, hey, they were tagged, and then their social team interacts with it and maybe reposts it or shares it, and then it just increases the reach.
Yeah, because you got to think like what you're liking and engaging with. Your network's going to see that. So if you can get a bigger account, like this past week here, I had two posts, one of which had more likes but less impressions. Because the one with less likes, Maz liked it, and Maz has like 160,000 followers on LinkedIn there. So that one got way more impressions because of that larger account. So if there's a way in which you can engage with a larger account, whether that's a business or influencer on the platform, like that's a little growth hack there, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I
So I
agree.
think that pretty much covers it there for LinkedIn content. I think it's pretty straightforward. You're trying to create content consistently on a consistent topic that's going to provide value to that audience, that's going to try and get some type of like engagement and comments on those posts. Pretty straightforward there. I think everybody can know, like when you're just making some random ass posts just for the sake of making a post, try not to do that. Try and be consistent with it. Make sure like it's actual, something that's worth sharing to your network there. Cool. You want to get into some of this shopping stuff, especially
Yeah,
with like the holiday season
I think
approaching.
so. I think it's relevant. We're starting to talk with individuals about their holiday shopping, and it's September, but hey, that's 2 months out. And I didn't know this, and this will kind of parlay into the next topic, but there's going to be another Prime Day in October. So just 2 months out. So right before the big shopping season. So that's at play too. But talking about Amazon and buying with Prime. So finally, Amazon and Shopify have partnered up to launch Buy with Prime on Shopify website. So you can be on your Shopify store. You add the plugin in, and people can then interact with your Amazon inventory straight from your website and buy directly in fulfillment through Amazon. I'm super excited about it because I mean, almost all e-commerce shops that I work with are on Shopify. It's just a platform that in the last 5, 10 years have exploded. It's a great platform, and this just makes it easier for someone to purchase and buy a product. It's more than just like credit card processing, right? Because the fulfillment's going to be coming through Amazon. Sure, Amazon's still going to take their cut, but it's going to make it that much easier to buy off your own website. And I believe you actually get the customer data, which on Amazon you don't. And so I could see that it's going to be really useful for the e-commerce space, the buy with Prime. We don't know when it's coming out. They said soon, hopefully before the holiday season. I would assume so. Um, I know the market liked it because Shopify jumped 10% stock value. They've kind of had a decline, but they popped up again like 10%. So I know the reaction is good. So
I think that's so interesting. The one point that you made there about the consumer data that you're going to get through your Shopify, as opposed to what you would get on Amazon, because I know that's something that's been like a frustration, especially when you're doing, advertising on Amazon or just like running your own Amazon shop. That's going to be really interesting how that piece plays out for some retailers. I would assume, obviously, this is going to be a much easier experience for people checking out with Prime. So that might lead to, additional revenue for Shopify accounts. But the data that you're going to get, I'd be curious to see how that just impacts businesses long term there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see the breakdown of, do people just automatically go to Amazon for purchases? Like it just switches everything. So if that's the case, then I don't know if that's the best thing because you're still taking your percentage out of Amazon. But if it's a healthy, not a crazy percent, maybe like 25% goes to this, then you get, 25% more. Well, I guess maybe not more, but consumer data that you can then, create remarketing lists with or lookalike audiences, actual do some email marketing outside of Amazon. So we'll see. I'm excited to see where that goes. So to be determined when it comes out, but I'm assuming before the holidays if they're announcing it now.
Gotta
So
be.
just, yeah, buy with Prime. If you got a Shopify site, start looking into it. They'll probably get emails, but
Yeah.
look into it.
Yeah, that's like a no brainer there. That's like such a quick win there.
Yeah, and I know there was
Also,
a couple other
too,
topics that we wanted to jump in on the holiday season stuff. I know you wanted to talk about some Advantage Plus, Performance Max. These are things out of my realm, so maybe you can crack into those.
that's what I was just going to mention there. Also, too, on the lines of holiday planning, obviously buy with Prime on Shopify. That's a no brainer. I think that makes a whole lot of sense. I just wanted to mention there, if you're a retailer looking to generate sales and really take advantage of the holiday season from ad campaigns, two things that I would really look into that maybe we could do a little deeper dive once we get closer to the holiday season would be on Facebook, Instagram, using Advantage Plus, and then on the Google side of things, using Performance Max. These are both very, very similar. I'm trying to think of a good comparison here, kind of like manual versus like automatic bidding, and how you're going to have some like smart bidding across different platforms. This Performance Max campaign type on Google is now pretty much the same thing on Facebook with Advantage Plus. Sure, there's a little differences and nuances, but essentially with both of these campaign types, what you're doing is you're providing the ads manager platform with tons of different copy, tons of different imagery and creative. And then you're pretty much allowing the platforms to optimize on your behalf. It seems like this is the shift that these ad platforms have been making for these past couple of years, is just consolidating these campaigns into like these smart campaigns, if you will. So in these instances, you are giving the platforms a whole lot of responsibility to make decisions on your behalf. So for example, with Advantage Plus, you might be serving in placements that you've never served in before. And same deal with Performance Max. With Performance Max, you have the ability to serve across search, display, YouTube, any video placements, Gmail. Same deal with Advantage Plus. Like you're going to start getting involved in different ad placements that you might not have before. But I think ultimately, like what they're trying to do is consolidate all of those different placements, all of those different pieces of creative, all of those different assets to generate a ton of data off the start so they can optimize towards those sales much quicker, as opposed to, hey, we have 7 different campaigns with 7 different audiences all chunked out. With these types of campaigns, they're really trying to combine everything into one, um, to optimize towards what's working much, much quicker. So these are two things I would be absolutely performing or kind of gearing up to utilize in this holiday season, on both of these platforms.
And did Performance Max come out before Advantage Plus?
It did.
Okay.
Yep.
So with Advantage Plus on Meta or Facebook, whatever we call it these days, how does it determine what audience to go off of? Is it like based on the shopping feed you give them? I mean, I'm specifically talking for e-commerce. Um, like how do they do? Do we even know how are they getting the intelligence to know who to target with those ads themselves? I just haven't looked into it.
I'd be curious to see. So there's a couple different ways. Like you still can at least preset your audiences, but they are pushing for you to combine your audiences together to
Hmm.
try and generate some additional data and signals. But you can also use like the audience expansion. You know, in Google, there's I think it's literally called audience expansion. Same deal on Facebook side of things, where I don't know the exact nuance in terms of how that operates. I'm assuming it's just kind of similar to like just signals and just saying, hey, like these touch points we've seen work. Let's just double down on these types of audience buckets and vice versa, where kind of optimizing in real time for what's working and just seeing what's working and then doubling down there. Again, you're giving a lot of leeway and kind of optimizing power towards those platforms. But if you're seeing a boost in sales and you're seeing a boost in revenue, it's like I would take a little bit less control for some additional performance.
So maybe this is something if someone hasn't dabbled in Performance Max or Advantage Plus, they do now just to show proof of concept of return. So when the holiday season comes around and your budgets, are going to expand dramatically through those time periods, you're not testing out during that time period. And maybe
Yeah.
you have those audiences set up, everything's before. So it's all primed and ready to go. Yeah, don't wait on it. I'm thinking get it done this month so you can, show proof of concept, and so you'd be willing to dump a lot more money into it. I'm curious too if, especially like Advantage Plus on Meta, I've always heard that you never want to increase your budgets more than like 15%, given because the algorithm will have to go into relearning. I'm curious if they have a little bit more of a higher tolerance because there's more signals that you could ramp up a budget a bit more drastically um, during the holiday season and still get the same impact. Not sure.
Yeah, they did. I mean, I will say one of the key selling points that Facebook or Meta, whatever we want to call it, is pushing out for Advantage Plus is it gets out of that learning phase quicker.
Mm.
So I would assume budget wise, you would have much more leeway to increase that and throttle that up and not have any type of impact in performance there.
Okay. Well, we got to let the AI and the machine, the black box, do its thing, I guess here. But if
You
it works, it
definitely
works.
do.
I mean, just if it works, it works. Why not?
But this is, I think you had a really good call out there though of like definitely would recommend trying to do this sooner rather than later, not wait till the holiday season to test this. Because I will say, with Performance Max and Advantage Plus, you are giving a lot of the power to these ad platforms where they're going to combine different copies and assets in different placements. So some people who are working with like larger brands or just work in house for a larger brand that um, potentially could have not like an asset look weird, but like look a little funkier, maybe like a little bit off brand. Those cases do happen. So just something to keep in mind is maybe trying to test that now and set expectations internally or whoever you're working with there. So those team members know like, hey, sometimes we are going to get some funky combinations of these ads, but ultimately these are going to optimize and perform better. They're just trying to figure it out off the start here. So something to keep in mind off the start there.
Okay. Last question I've got about Advantage Plus, because I know it's something in Performance Max they finally came out as controversial before they had it, was being able to optimize for new customers or non-branded keywords. Does Advantage Plus have any of those kind of filterings to, go after new customers or non-branded terms? Or I guess it's pretty new customers for them because it's on Facebook.
No, unfortunately not. Performance Max does have that option to toggle on to just target new customers. I would assume Advantage Plus is probably like working on a similar feature there.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
Cool. All right, I think that covers it for holiday planning stuff that we wanted to chat through. Let's cover off on a couple more items here. I think one quick topic that I just wanted to mention here that I would love to be able to show this client's Google Ads, but unfortunately can't do that. You know, it's their data, it's their platform there essentially. But just wanted to mention something that might be timely for the holidays, might not be, but just in general, if you're managing Google search campaigns right now, this is search campaigns in specific here, is taking a look at your campaign settings to see where you're targeting your search campaigns. So if you're new to search, you're probably thinking, hey, search campaigns, we're just targeting Google search. Like that's just what it is. It's actually not the case on search campaigns. You have the ability to target your campaigns to appear on Google search results page, but there's also this feature called search networks or search partners network where your text ads can actually appear on tons and tons and tons of different websites. There's, I think, over 2 million different websites in Google's network there, where there are sites online that have search functionality that then spit out search results on those pages, similar to Google, but it's not Google themselves. If you're using search partners, you're eligible to start peering on all these different random websites and spending money. I did some consulting for a client. They were spending, a significant amount. We're talking like over $2 million a year in ad spend. I put together a simple report for the past year just to see what business they were able to generate from Google search versus Search Partners Network. Search Partners Network, this was a lead generation. So this was for higher education, like applications submitted, spent like $560,000 over the course of a year and got 2 applications from it. Where Google search, their cost per acquisition was like, I don't know, $150, $200. Search Partners Network legitimately spent like almost $600,000 and got almost nothing in return. So just wanted to call that out there. If you're doing any type of keyword bidding on Google, I would really, really look to segment your data by search versus Search Partners Network. And I'd probably want to like flick off that partners network because that thing just eats budgets like crazy. And I've seen this time and time again.
Yeah, no, that's wild to know. I've heard of that. I remember seeing that example you tell me about that. It's just crazy the amount of wasted spend. So another hat tip that I don't think a lot of people know about, I think I've talked to you about this. No, I have talked to you about this, is Bing has something very similar. It's their audience network. And so I've run campaigns where, yeah, 50% of the ad spend's going into their audience network, which is their same thing. It's their partner network, and the return on leads was 0, but they'd spent 50% of my budget. So I was like, hey, I want to opt out of this. Is there a button? No, there's not a convenient button that you can click to say opt me out of the audience network. There's like 2 ways you can do it. I talked to support. The first way is setting up a filter in your ad platform for like, it's like there's a couple different like settings on there that you need to like tag and say, hey, admit from these audience networks, and you have to name them. Super inconvenient, doesn't really make sense to do, and kind of difficult to do, right? I can't even remember what those names that I have to put in there are, so it's a little more difficult. The
Yeah,
other way that you can do it is that you actually have to contact support, which surprisingly their support's pretty fast compared to Google and Meta. And you need to tell them, I need to opt out of the audience network. And they will, on their back end, turn it off. And they will send you an email saying, yes, I have confirmed that it's been turned off. So you actually have to have it
that's
done
crazy.
manually by their support to turn it off. The moment you do it, the traffic doesn't go in there anymore and it performs way better. So just something to look at as well, right? If you're running a Bing campaign for any extended period of time, break it down by network. There's a button there and you'll see audience and then you'll see search network. And the audience network, I doubt it'll perform well at all and just waste your money. So yeah, same thing. Where's that money
Check your
going?
networks.
Going to some executive's pocket. So I don't know. It's nuts to see that.
If you're a Bing or Google rep listening to this, I would love to hear a good defense as to why to use either network. I've never seen it perform well, other than just spending money. I would love to hear a good use case as to why to use it. So
Yeah,
something definitely keep an eye out there. If you have campaigns
they're
live,
defaulted
check those
on.
networks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're defaulted on. It's like, hey, someone's like, I know how we can make 20 to 30% more in all of our campaigns. Let's just toggle this button on. So yeah, it's wild.
crazy. Oh man. All right, we got I think one more thing on the docket. You want to speak to this little AI craze here? I thought
Yeah,
this was
yeah,
a
it was
funny
just more of a
story.
fun one. I got to make sure I get the pronunciation right here, so give me a second. All right, so Anguilla, the country of Anguilla, it's a British overseas territory. Why is that relevant? I found this little news story on, I think it's like my daily emails that I get. It's kind of like the brew, something like that. I can't remember which one it is. But anyways, Anguilla, guess what their country domain name is? It's .ai. So all these different .ai domains that have been purchased in the last 2 years. It looks like in 2021, they brought in about 7.4 million for just the .ai domains. That's pretty good. But hey, ChatGPT came out at the beginning of this year. Well, a little earlier than that, but let's just say beginning of this year. They're estimating that for 2023 will bring in anywhere between 25 million and 30 million dollars a year to that specific country. So pretty wild. That's where all the TLDs, most of them are from. I can't remember, was .tv was another country that had a boom too. So yeah, just interesting to see that kind of boost for the .ai domain and the craze. So maybe it's worth buying a or making a country. And I mean, it's only millions, not billions of dollars, but still, it's fascinating.
Shout out Angola there.
Yeah,
Just randomly getting
absolutely.
a nice little $30 million a year cash flow in there for literally doing nothing.
I know. It's
He'd love to say it.
hopefully, yeah, it's great. Well, right on, man. This has been fun. Feel like we're getting better at this. It's coming off a little bit more natural for me, and I think we're coming off with a lot of different ideas here. And hopefully, it's helpful for anybody that's listening. Um, like I said before, even if not, it's a way that we can just collaborate and brainstorm.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. It felt much more natural this go around. Only going to get better. Probably going to have some guests and some spotlights coming up
Yeah.
here in the future, and just keep cranking away at like anything new, anything trending, anything that we're working on. With the goal of just trying to learn and provide some value. Because like we said last time, a lot of moving parts in this industry can feel kind of lonely. And just want to make sure like everybody feels supported in that sense there. So I think
You mean
successful
part of the
number
collective?
two. Exactly.
So you,
Exactly.
part of the collective. Yeah, you're all part of it. So come on.
Exactly. All right,
Uh,
I think that's a good place for us to call it there.
all right. Sounds good.
Episode 2 in the books. Catch you later.
Yeah.